Have you ever noticed how quickly a simple decision can turn into something much bigger than you expected? Maybe it started with a phone call from your adult child, or a conversation with a doctor who said it might be time to get a little help at home. At first, it sounds comforting. Someone to help with meals, a bit of cleaning, maybe keeping you company. In-home care is often presented as the perfect solution, a way to stay independent without burdening anyone. And for many people, it truly can be helpful. But there's another side to it, a quieter side that most caregivers and agencies don't openly talk about. And that's what we're going to explore together today. This matters because once someone starts coming into your home regularly, your home is no longer just your private space. It becomes a workplace for someone else. And when that happens, small warning signs can easily be missed, especially if you're trusting, polite, or simply grateful for the help. Seniors are often raised to avoid confrontation, to be kind, and to not complain. Unfortunately, that kindness can sometimes be taken advantage of. My goal here isn't to scare you, but to help you feel informed, confident, and in control of the care you receive. As we talk, I want you to imagine your own daily routine. Think about who comes into your home, what they do, and how you feel after they leave. Those feelings matter more than you might think. Let's ease into the first warning sign, because it's one of the most common and also one of the easiest to overlook. One of the first things caregivers rarely warn you about is how quickly boundaries can blur. At the beginning, everything feels professional. They're polite, attentive, and focused. But over time, you might notice little shifts. Maybe they start sharing too many personal problems, talking about money troubles, family drama, or how hard their life is. At first, you listen because you're kind. You might even feel flattered that they trust you. But slowly, the relationship starts to change. Instead of them supporting you, you feel like you're supporting them emotionally. This is a warning sign because it can lead to guilt-based manipulation. You might hesitate to speak up when something doesn't feel right because you don't want to hurt their feelings or make their life harder. A caregiver's job is to help you feel safe and supported, not emotionally burdened. If you ever find yourself feeling drained, anxious, or responsible for their well-being, that's not something to ignore. Your home should feel calmer with help, not heavier. Another sign closely connected to this is when help slowly turns into control. It doesn't happen overnight. It often starts with suggestions. You don't need to call your daughter right now. Or, that medication schedule seems confusing. I'll handle it my way. At first, it may sound helpful, even efficient, but over time, you might notice you're being talked over or decisions are being made without your input. Your preferences get brushed aside, and routines that matter to you quietly disappear. This can be especially dangerous because it chips away at your independence without you realizing it. Independence isn't just about physical ability, it's about choice. What time you eat, what clothes you wear, who you talk to. When a caregiver starts acting like they know better in every situation, it's a sign that the balance of power is shifting. You deserve assistance, not replacement. Now, let's talk about something many seniors hesitate to mention because it feels uncomfortable. Care that feels rushed or distracted. In-home care is often marketed as personal and attentive, but the truth is many caregivers are overworked and underpaid. That doesn't excuse poor care, but it does explain why you might notice them constantly checking their phone, watching the clock, or skipping small but important tasks. Maybe meals feel hurried, conversations are cut short, you're left waiting longer than promised for help with something simple. When care feels rushed, it's not just inconvenient, it can be unsafe. Missed medications, poor hygiene, or half-finished tasks can lead to real health risks. If you ever feel like you're an item on a checklist instead of a person, that feeling deserves attention. Good care should leave you feeling seen, not processed. As we move forward, keep these early signs in mind. They often show up quietly, wrapped in politeness or excuses. Noticing them early gives you more power than you might realize, because the sooner you recognize what doesn't feel right, the easier it is to address it. And with that awareness, we can continue talking about other signals that are just as important to protect your comfort, dignity, and peace of mind.
As you sit with those thoughts, it becomes easier to notice other things that might not have stood out before. Sometimes the warning signs aren't about how the caregiver speaks or behaves emotionally, but about what quietly starts to go missing. One of the most overlooked issues in in-home care is a lack of transparency, especially when it comes to time, tasks, or money. It might begin with small inconsistencies. A caregiver says they were there for 4 hours, but it felt more like 3. Groceries seem to run out faster than usual. Receipts are missing, or explanations feel vague when you ask simple questions. Many seniors feel uncomfortable asking for details because they don't want to appear suspicious or ungrateful. But transparency isn't about distrust, it's about clarity. When someone is working in your home, you have every right to know exactly what's being done and how your resources are being used. If questions are met with defensiveness, irritation, or excuses that don't quite add up, that's a signal worth paying attention to. Honest caregivers understand that clarity builds trust. They don't avoid it. Another subtle but serious sign is when your privacy starts to fade. Your home is full of personal details, from paperwork and medications to conversations with family and friends. A caregiver should treat all of that with respect. But sometimes boundaries around privacy get crossed. Maybe you notice them opening drawers that have nothing to do with their tasks. Maybe personal phone calls are taken loudly in the next room while discussing your situation. Or you hear your own private information repeated back to you in a way that makes you wonder who else might know. This can feel unsettling, and rightly so. Privacy isn't a luxury, it's a basic form of dignity. When it's slowly taken away, seniors can start to feel exposed or unsafe in their own homes. You might find yourself hiding paperwork, locking doors, or feeling tense when you hear footsteps in the hallway. Those reactions are your instincts trying to protect you. A caregiver who respects you will also respect your space, your information, and your right to feel secure. There's also an issue that often gets brushed aside as just how it is, but it shouldn't be. That's constant change and inconsistency. One day it's one caregiver, the next day it's someone new, and then another unfamiliar face appears the following week. Every new person means a new routine, new explanations, and a fresh adjustment. While agencies may say this is normal scheduling, for seniors it can feel exhausting and destabilizing. Consistency is especially important as we get older. Familiar faces bring comfort. They notice small changes in your health or mood because they know what's normal for you. When caregivers rotate too often, those details get missed. You might feel like you're always starting over, repeating instructions or correcting mistakes. Over time, this can lead to frustration and even withdrawal, where you stop asking for help simply because it feels like too much effort. What makes this harder is that many seniors blame themselves for feeling unsettled. They think they're being picky or resistant to change. But needing consistency doesn't mean you're difficult. It means you're human. A stable caregiving relationship helps you relax, and relaxation is essential for both physical and emotional well-being. Another piece that often stays hidden is the level of training, or sometimes the lack of it. Not all caregivers receive the same education or preparation. Some are wonderful companions, but lack proper knowledge about mobility support, medication management, or signs of medical trouble. You might notice uncertainty when they help you stand, confusion about instructions, or hesitation in situations that require confidence and skill. When this happens, it can put you in a dangerous position. You may feel like you need to guide them, double-check their work, or stay alert instead of resting. That's not how care is supposed to feel. You should feel supported, not like the supervisor.
If you ever sense someone isn't fully prepared to help you safely, that concern deserves attention, even if it feels awkward to voice. All of these signs share something in common. They slowly shift the environment of your home from a place of comfort to a place of quiet tension. Nothing dramatic may happen right away, which is why they're easy to dismiss, but over time, that tension adds up. You might notice changes in your sleep, your appetite, or your mood. You might feel less like yourself in the very space where you should feel most at ease. As we keep moving forward, it becomes clearer that protecting your well-being isn't about being suspicious or fearful. It's about staying aware and honoring what you feel. When you listen to those feelings, you begin to see how much power you still have in shaping the care you receive and the life you continue to live.
By now, it's clear that the most serious warning signs are often the quiet ones, the ones that don't announce themselves loudly but slowly change how you feel in your own home. As we come to the final part of this conversation, there are a couple more signs that deserve your attention because they go straight to the heart of safety and self-respect. One of those signs is when you begin to feel hesitant to speak up at all. This can show up in small ways. You notice something isn't done correctly, but you let it go. You feel uncomfortable with a comment, but you laugh it off. You need help sooner, but you wait because you don't want to be a bother. When in-home care is healthy, you should feel free to express yourself without fear. When it isn't, silence starts to feel easier than honesty. This kind of hesitation often grows out of past reactions. Maybe a caregiver sighed when you asked for help one too many times. Maybe they made a joking remark that stung more than they realized. Or maybe they reminded you how busy they are, how many other people they care for, or how lucky you are to have help at all. Over time, these moments teach you to shrink your needs, and that's a serious warning sign, because your needs don't become smaller just because you stop voicing them. Another sign that can't be ignored is when trust starts to erode, even if you can't point to a single reason why. Trust isn't just about honesty, it's about how safe you feel emotionally and physically. If you feel uneasy when someone is in your home, if you feel relief when they leave instead of comfort when they arrive, that matters. Seniors sometimes tell themselves they're being overly sensitive or imagining things, but your instincts are shaped by a lifetime of experience. They deserve respect. This loss of trust can come from many small moments. Maybe promises aren't kept. Maybe your preferences are dismissed with a smile. Maybe there's a feeling that you're being talked about rather than talked with. When trust fades, your sense of security fades with it. And without security, even the best-looking care arrangement can quietly harm your well-being. What's important to remember is that noticing these signs doesn't mean you failed or made a bad decision. In-home care is complex. People change, situations change. Recognizing that something no longer feels right is a sign of strength, not weakness. You are allowed to expect respect, consistency, and kindness in your own home, no matter your age or physical condition. As you reflect on everything we've talked about, you may recognize one sign, or you may recognize several. You may even realize that some of these issues are just beginning to form. That awareness is powerful. It gives you the opportunity to talk to family, to ask questions, or to request changes before problems grow bigger. Even small adjustments can restore balance and peace. It's also important to remind yourself that needing care does not mean giving up control over your life. You are still the expert on yourself. Your routines, your values, your comfort matter. The right caregiver supports those things instead of reshaping them. When care truly works, it feels like a partnership, not a takeover. If any part of this conversation resonated with you, you're not alone. Many seniors experience these feelings but never put words to them. Sharing your thoughts can help others feel less isolated and more confident in speaking up. If you feel comfortable, leave a comment and let us know what your experience has been like, or what questions you've been carrying quietly.
If you found this helpful, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're here to talk honestly about aging, independence, and the choices that protect your dignity and peace of mind. Growing older doesn't mean growing powerless. With the right knowledge and support, you can continue living on your own terms. Thank you for spending this time together. Take care of yourself, trust what you feel, and remember that your comfort and safety truly matter. Here's to staying informed, staying confident, and living well at every stage of life.